Hello, glow getters. Hi. What's up, YouTube? Oh no, my hair's wild today. Let's fix her up. Hey, glow getters listening in on the podcast. Welcome. I'm going live on YouTube right now and sitting with you all on the podcast. Today was very planned and unannounced, so thanks for joining me if you are here. Drop your favorite color heart in the chat, YouTube. These bangs have got to get their lives together. I used to have bangs a few months ago, and curly hair, when it grows out, just kind of goes its own way, so fix myself up a little bit. It looked cute 2 seconds ago when I left the bathroom, and then came in here, of course. All right, guys, welcome. It is a Friday evening for me, and I've been really excited to have this kind of show. When I initially had the idea for my podcast, it was a little over a year ago, and it's evolved quite a bit. So I remember, though, one of my early wishes, if you will, was that I would have these download episodes. And what I mean by that is these are going to be very unfiltered, probably quite messy messages because they're unscripted. So most of my shows, I like to try to plan ahead of time because your girl got some ADD. So we're just trying to keep ourselves honest and say, hey, we need to stay on topic. But today's show, I get to just channel some things. And so that being said, I really would love for you guys to follow me on Instagram, whatever social media account you like. And if you have any questions about today's episode, please feel free to message me directly or leave comments below YouTube. I just really want to ensure that like the message gets across appropriately. And when we're channeling, it's not as clear. It just comes out abruptly sometimes. And so I might have to come back a couple steps before we move forward. So let's dive in. Okay. So today I want to talk about the theory of think, be, do. Before we get into it, I want to preface this with I personally believe we have several different bodies. You have like your brain, you have your physical body, you have your ego, you have your soul, you have your ethereal body, aura, chakras. I absolutely believe in all of those things and how they carry different energies. And that can be a really broad discussion sometimes, right? So I wanted to narrow this down to the big three, if you will, that guide us here in the physical 3D body realm, in this experience that we're having right now, in this conversation that you and I are having right this second. So a lot of the work I do with clients and something I've been called to channel today is around behavior change and around developing new habits and replacing old habits, understanding why we make certain choices, just overall self-awareness, right? my job as a coach is to assist people in this process. And it's really interesting to see that really these three, think, be, do, these three have to fall in line in order for someone to truly change how they feel, respond, and reflect upon life choices. So if you can be and do, but you can't think, it's not going to stick. If you can think and be, but you can't do, it's not going to stick. And if you can think and do, but you can't be, it's not going to stick. So it's like, but well, what does this mean? So to me, thinking refers to the mental body. That is our intellectual brain, right? The one that we read with, the one we gather information with, the one that we learn with, the one that we, excuse me, use to do math, the one that we use to follow directions, right? The logical brain. This guy is the think. He's the think tank. And oftentimes, that's when we're talking about mindset. That's like the mindset talk that we get into. So people will say to me, it's so amazing how much being a coach is like being a therapist, actually. It's so wild. So people will say to me, I believe in myself. And I know that I can do X, Y, Z, but I just can't actually do it. So to me, that says, because you've been conditioned to believe for one reason or another, whatever it is, that you are not capable. I have some incense going, YouTube, so if that's what you're seeing in the camera, I just saw the smoke in front of my house. So if you know like what to do and you believe in yourself and you know that you're capable and you just can't do it, it's definitely a mindset block. It's a mental body block. So that is part of why the work that I do is so mindset intensive. That is part of why I am with a company called Mind Embody, because we have to include the mind. The mind has to come with us. The mind has to be on the same page and in the same book. Oftentimes, people will come to me, their mind, body, and soul are in 3 different books, okay? Sometimes spread across several books, okay? Like, yeah, it gets a little complicated in that head. I get it. And and we live in a world that overstimulates our mental body. And so then we can oftentimes make even less healthy decisions for ourselves because we aren't ever in a state of true peace. Okay, here's what I mean by that, because we're talking about the mind, right? So I know a bunch of you are like, ugh, but then you just got spiritual with it. No, here, I'm going to give you a little science. Your central nervous system is responsible for handling stress. we have the most low-level constant stress today as humans that we've ever had in the history of being humans because of technology. God bless it, but it causes a lot of low-level stress because we're always taking in information, always trying to digest something, especially if you're someone like myself who follows people that do teaching and coaching online. Like, a lot of the information is deep and heavy, right? So it's like I have to be careful how much of my own personal time I even spend on social media, because I spend so much of my work time researching and investigating and looking at these things. So it's like, dude, I gotta give my brain a break, right? But that's a lot of low-level stress. And as little as 200 years ago, the stressors may have been higher level. Sure, like I may have had a lot more physical work to do on a farm somewhere, or whatever the case. If you go back even further to when we were tribal people, and you consider the fact that like we all had a job. Everybody had one job. You had one thing you were really good at. Everyone agreed you were good at that thing, and that's going to be what we let you excel in. So like in between, you're just resting. You're just living your life. You're just doing your thing. and and now we have all of this low-level stress because of our modern day lives. Okay. Work gives us a lot more low-level stress. So we're already kind of living in a spiked cortisol environment. And then when something stressful happens in your relationship, and then when something stressful happens in your home, and then when something stressful happens with your car, and then when something else stressful happens that's really minor, but you can't handle it and you feel like you're going to have an anxiety attack over it, it's because you're already stressed out, babe. You're already really stressed out, and we got to take a chill pill. We got to relax the mind. We have to bring some peace up in this piece. Okay? Period. So, being able to think clearly, and being able to have the patience with yourself to rewire how you think, like reestablishing habits, is really difficult. And we make it sound so easy. Ugh. For those of you listening on the podcast, I just rolled my eyes super hard. YouTube saw it. In our society, we just make it sound like, oh, this is so easy. It's only going to take you 6 weeks to break a habit. Not true. Depends on the habit, depends on how long you've been doing it for, depends on how conditioned you are to believe that like that isn't okay and or healthy and or all that you deserve. So, being able to think clearly is super important. Super important. And this is where people who say, again, like I said earlier, they know what to do. They know that they can do it. They say that they believe in themselves, which I think that they do. I just think it's not on a deep enough level to rewire their thinking, right? These two are kind of neck and neck to me. So being the B is like believing. Belief is the soul. That's the soul piece. What do you believe to be true? Because whatever you believe to be true really does shape your reality. I didn't become confident in my body, my skin, just how I was born to be. Okay. And I'm just talking about the body. So I'm going super basic with you guys here to make it real relatable. Wasn't comfortable in my body until I believed that I could be. So there was the part of me that was thinking like, well, you haven't lost enough weight yet. There was a part of me that was thinking, oh, well, you haven't done this yet, whatever it was, right? That was the thought process. But it leads to the belief that I will never be successful in ... Insert here. So this is quite parallel to like your thoughts become your beliefs and your beliefs become your actions. I'm just applying them to what I spiritually believe. And I think that a lot of us actually feel the same, and we just don't know how to put this to words all of the time. So here we are, open discussion. So believing that you are in order to actually do. Believing is like really kind of the key piece in a lot of our like manifestations, right? If we don't truly believe that we're allowed to even want to have this thing, and that we can, then it doesn't matter what thoughts we rewire. And I've had this happen with clients as well. Everything that we're talking about today, I've had happen with clients. For the people that struggle with mindset, it's always the think part. The being shows up a little differently. It's quite interesting because people who believe in themselves and know that they can do it. I'm sorry. People who rewire the thinking. Slow down. Okay. People who rewire the brain, and people who know they can do it, but don't have the belief, will never do it. They are like the hidden geniuses because they have the brain, they have the mental body piece in check. They have the action piece in check. They know exactly what to do. They will always deny their own greatness and dim their own light because they don't believe. Because they don't believe. And it makes me sad sometimes to think about it that way, because then I think that like your soul is sleeping, like you're just in this body, you're just here in this body, but like it's not really you're just surviving, you're not thriving, you're not living, you're not experiencing life because you don't believe that you deserve it. And those are always the hardest clients for me personally to detach from at the end of the day. Like, because I remember not believing in myself. And I see it so clearly. It's so quick for me. I can read the body language within like 2 to 3 minutes of being on a call with someone. If that. Everyone has a certain way of holding themselves if they believe in themselves, even just a little bit. And if it's any kind of other barrier, typically we can get past it. But if someone doesn't believe in themselves, sometimes we can't even get them to start a program. What I mean by that is they will pay for the program and poof, disappear. So wild. But it's because they lack belief in themselves. And they can't even give themselves the chance to prove themselves wrong. So that one is tough. And these are also behaviors that like we can look out for in ourselves, you know. A lot of times when I feel these channeled messages come on, it's more so just like these are the things that we should be doing for ourselves within ourselves consistently if life enhancement is something that we're interested in. If we are here, I'm going to take a sip of water in a second. If we are here to do anything more than just survive, if you want to be anything more than an organism planted on earth, if you want to have a soulful experience here, you have to have an alive soul, which means believing in yourself and in things that we maybe cannot see yet. I say yet because I definitely have experienced clairvoyance and stuff, but that's a different topic for a different episode. That'll become, oh my gosh, we'll be here all night, okay? It's Friday night. I've got nowhere to be. I set up my little office today. Oh, we would be here for a minute, honey. I don't even know if the podcast would collect all of it. We'd just be on YouTube. You guys would have to move to YouTube soon. Yeah. So that's the being, right? Believing, the soul. And we're all just souls, like eternal light souls here having a human experience. So like, at least that's what I believe. And I think to not allow your soul to have that human experience is as saddening as it can be. It can also be really beautiful. And it's really sad if you miss out on that because you can't believe in yourself. Yeah. Man, I'm recording this episode right off of the news of Twitch the dancer. Yeah. Our Twitch and his recent passing. And I just, every time that one of our idols passes in this way, it really just reminds me that like it's so easy to lose our belief in this world because this world can be really harsh. So if you ever, this makes me emotional. So if you ever don't believe in yourself, please make it your top priority to do so, because that is when you start to feel that kind of loneliness. And if you ever are listening to this episode and when it finds you, you need someone to talk to, I am always here, and you can always find me on Instagram. Okay. Woo. Almost cried. One day you guys will get it full on for sure. Okay. Then we have the doing. So this part is super interesting to me because I consider myself probably, I don't know. I really love like personal development and life enhancement, right? So like I'm all about doing all the things, and I'm always learning in my lifting. I'm always applying new techniques in my workouts and playing with nutrition in new ways. And I'm just always trying new things and seeing what feels good and seeing what, like, you know, what I can tie into my daily life that benefits me, what maybe doesn't benefit me so much. Because again, we're all a part of the collective, but we all are also individuals. And so we're still having some individual experiences, and like what works for someone nutritionally doesn't work best for someone else nutritionally, right? So like just honoring that. And I'm always trying new stuff. So this is something I think that maybe I benefited from being a dancer growing up and an athlete. I was always kind of put up on a pedestal to like go do, be the doer. So so I've always been able to tap into that masculine energy quite easily and like just do it. Especially in dance, especially as I got older, it was a lot more about like following. So there's less counting and like, okay, the memes and stuff that you guys hear. For anyone who's a dancer, you know that it's true. Dance teachers don't count. Okay, nobody counts anything. They're just like pop and two and and drop, drop, drop and pop and and eat and chew eat and eat. Okay, so it's like that's not counting. That's not. I don't know what this means, but if I watch you, I can learn it. So it's just like follow the dancing person. Okay. So definitely that helped me be a doer. I think then, the athletic part, that helps me be a doer. I've always been for sure impulsive. So in some ways that has benefited me because I've made some pretty big mistakes early on, which is why I think I can finally, it's like I've unlocked the next level, right? I lined up all the codes and the numbers and everything, and that shit came out perfect. Boop, 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 boop. Next level. Like when Mario gets the mushroom. Blue, blue, blue. Perfect. Got it. I got my mushroom. Cool. But now I got to do the stuff. So thinking and being is cool, right? If we can get the mind and the soul on the same page, look, this is ideal because for me anyways, like from a coaching perspective, I love this because I don't have to do a ton of work with you. We don't have to spend time in your program working through habit rebuilding and restructuring or building true self belief on top of a new habit of being physically active. And this tends to be what these kind of people struggle with the most is the accountability and doing of the action, right? So I have had clients as recently as this year that paid in full for a program. They had already gone through, some therapy and stuff, and like they were coming out of a reflective phase. So they were feeling really good, feeling ready to, take on a program. Also had some recent self-discovery experiences. And so soul-wise, this person was also feeling really great, feeling like she was really ready to invest in herself. Paid in full for the program. I put it all together, set it all up. We went through her onboarding call. She was like my second client. Second client, like from this year, from 2022. One of my very first online clients. Okay. She was in contact with me for maybe 2 weeks after her onboarding call. And then she disappeared, ghosted. And it was strange because like we had perfectly fine conversations beforehand. So like really she just straight there was no I had no I didn't even have an inkling that like she was struggling. Okay? So here's what happens when you can think and be, but we can't act. Here's what happens. We get stuck there. We get stuck there and we get overwhelmed when, so I, on a daily autopilot basis, I do not struggle with my health and fitness anymore. Otherwise, I wouldn't be coaching people on it, right? Like it's just a part of my autopilot now. It's one of those things that is a non-negotiable. Even when I go through bouts of depression, I stay active because I know that it's better for me. Like I know it. I've learned it. The science and everything else that I've experienced in real life evidence makes sense. And I understand that it helps me if I exercise. Now, maybe the kind of exercise I do will shift and will be a little bit more fluid if I'm going through bouts of depression. However, I still do the work. I still am doing the thing because doing the thing helps keep me thinking and being clearly. Ah, we see? Yes. It's all connected. And that's why we can't see true habit change and true shifts in our life and in our reality until we can do all three. So I never heard from her again. There's actually no final, there's no big ending to this story. And that is, I think, the key is that she allowed herself too much time to overthink it, which convinced her soul that this was not in alignment with her, which is another way of saying to ourselves that we're not ready for something. I know. Send the spiritual police on me. Okay, I don't care. So here's the thing, you guys. There is such thing as toxic positivity, right? So there is such thing as toxic spirituality. And toxic spirituality tells us that if something's not in alignment with me, then I'm not doing that. Pause. Just because you are in resistance to something doesn't mean that it's not in alignment with you. We're going to say it again. Just because you are resistant to something doesn't mean that it isn't in alignment with you. We get to make choices. So what's great is that like fate, cool. I believe in those things. Absolutely. I also believe in free will. And I believe that when you make a choice that sends you on that particular path, which is going to have its own destinies and fates folded in there. However, every step along the way, you get to make your own choice. So it's like the veins in the branches, in the leaves. You know how they just like break off of each other and break off of each other, and like all these little veins, these are fake leaves, but still they just like break off and there's all these little things, right? That's how the paths are. You can make a choice that leads you down a different path, but then on that same path, you're going to have other choices that lead off of that path, and then paths off of those paths. And so that's why we say as coaches, the little habits stack up, because it's the little choices, it's the little things. And so she was experiencing resistance somewhere. But because person who was also quite spiritual, she had already convinced that she was done. So the final like word I ever got from her, we had a really cool conversation, set up a call, and then the last thing I ever got from her was an email saying, never mind, I can't do this right now. I don't have time for this space, whatever, something she said like that. But and then she also said, and it was not in alignment with me. But the whole time, here's the thing, the whole time that we were doing this, because my discovery process is not short, okay? I will be in the DMs with someone for quite a bit before I ever get on a call with them. So leading up to that, everything was like, yes, 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 I'm ready, I'm ready. And clearly it was not a cost issue because she paid for the whole thing. And she did believe in herself. And she's coming out of this self-reflective period. She had done just so much work. But when we get to the implementation, the grounded work of doing something, so many people can struggle here and so many people can get stuck in the clouds. And I get it because I can also get stuck in the clouds. Again, I've got ADD. One of the biggest words. One of the most common comments, that's hard, that my teachers left on the report card, like the common denominator, was Desiree's a great student. She daydreams a lot. I was always up in the clouds, okay? So like for me, I've definitely been in a lot of places in my life where I thought it, I believed it, but when it came down to the implementation and doing of it, nope. I'm out. Deuces. And so I also know what that looks like. And I saw her do it and I was like, oof. Because when people ask me, how is weightlifting such a spiritual experience? Because this is the physical manifestation of the teaching and guiding and channeling and messaging that I give every single day. And so if I didn't have a spiritual experience when I was weightlifting, I wouldn't work in it. This is just how I am as a person, okay? Not everybody can do their soul's work. It's not it's not easy. It's not all it's cracked up to be. But it's super rewarding and I love it and I will never not do it again. However, if you are going to do it, then it has to be a spiritual experience. And I will tell you that nothing has ever convinced me that I am strong enough, that I am capable enough, that I am whatever it is enough than weightlifting, other than building a business. We're gonna have another conversation about that another day. That'll be another one we have. Oh man. That'll make you do some stuff for sure. For sure. But like running a business and weightlifting, man, that's what everybody should try this before they die. Okay. Everybody should try this before they die. Just let me know how it goes. At the very least, you're going to learn some stuff about yourself. It'll be cool. So absolutely, I have a spiritual experience when I'm lifting iron. Absolutely. Sometimes I disappear, leave my body, okay? Because sometimes that shit hurts. Let's be real. Sometimes that shit is hard, okay? When I pull a heavy deadlift, I go to heaven for sure. I'm tapping out. Let my body take over. You go, girl, do your thing. I'll be back in 2.5. That is real life, okay? So in order to do the doing, we have to understand what we think and believe. And what the whole point of this story was with this particular client was that she didn't understand all of the new things she actually had just learned and just started to believe. She didn't understand what that meant as far as implementation goes. And then when she saw what the action plan was, she got overwhelmed and she overthought it, and then convinced herself that because it was a resistance and uncomfortable, that it was too out of alignment with her and she could no longer follow through. Which is also really sad too, because then these people, I think, also struggle with the thinkers and doers. Like they never really live up to their full potential. They never get to experience their full, vibrant, authentic ass lives because they're too scared to do the thing, or they don't understand all of their new information, and they don't know how to put it into the doing, but they also don't trust themselves enough to do the doing. So then it comes back to the belief, right? Okay, well then there was something we missed in the belief, which means there's something we missed in the thoughts. You see? And then it's all just a cycle. Everything's a cycle. Oh my gosh. We just run through the cycles. And so this is what it's like when you start to truly dedicate yourself to changing your life. You have to be willing to look at all of these different things and like know when they're showing up. And the thing is that it's only a lot of work at first. And that's why it's important at first, right? That's why you should get a coach in the beginning for sure. Have someone, I'm all about, hello, I'm a coach. I'm all about having a coach, a therapist, whatever, to help you out in the beginning. However, we all get to a point where now it's up to us. We have the information. We know what we want to believe in. We know what we want to get better at doing. So then we have to put the three of them together, at least in this earthly realm, for anything to happen. If you can at least do those three things, you will see consistent progress on whatever you need to see in your life. And a lot of people could like stop there and be perfectly content, and good for them. No, absolutely. I support them in that. That's as far as some people ever get. Excuse me. When I channel things, I get, I'm sure you guys can tell, a little bit out of breath because it's like word vomit, and then I get like trapped air. So then I have to burp. Oh man. Wow, guys. This was a long episode. This was a long chat. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I think that's all I really have to say about it. So as you move into the next phase of your growth, or as you prepare for the new year, I'm recording this on December 16th, so it's coming around the corner. I just want you guys to consider, what are you thinking? What are you believing? And what are you doing? And is that truly in alignment with who you want to become? All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever day it is when you hear this. And yeah, come out of a daze when I'm done. All right, glow getters, have a wonderful